It's another strange night, isn't it? What's been happening on these Sunday nights, man?
Yeah.
At the one-star postgame, it's a whole lot of fun. With jokes and recaps once the match is done. From the field to the office, we're ready to go on the one-star postgame show.
All right, it's the One Star Cowboys podcast coming to you live after the Cowboys 40-40 tie with the Green Bay Packers. Yes. Kent Garrison is here with me tonight. You will hear from Jon Machota from AT&T Stadium soon, but you got to stay for a little bit to get that. And he'll have a lot of insight, I would imagine. Kent, my Lord, that was one of the craziest games we've had in a long time.
This is an instant reaction podcast, KT. So I need your instant reaction. Are you stunned, bewildered, excited? I can't tell right now.
It's so weird because, like, I think, let's just look at this for a second from, like, a Cowboys fan's perspective. How many times have you seen this happen over the last decade with the Packers? And you're kind of thinking this is going to end poorly. And it almost did, but then Green Bay's clock management at the end, maybe I'm kind of used to the Cowboys having some bad clock management. Green Bay usually doesn't have that much problems managing the clock, but something weird's going on there. And I don't know what to say. The offense lived up to what we thought they would be, and some. They are the only team that's moved the ball in the Packers this year. The defense got a few stops, and it was not pretty, and it still never feels like it's going to have enough resistance to consistently get wins. But at least we saw them try to blitz and do a few different things this week, finally.
Yeah.
So at least where you're asking, where was that last week in Chicago? But I am shocked because, man, I think when the Cowboys had to settle for the field goal to make it 40-37, you are kind of thinking that the Packers are going to score on this defense. So to get out with a tie is weirdly frustrating, but also like
feels like a win.
It feels like a win.
It leans more towards win than loss, than like moral victory loss. You know, like I think you probably feel like you should have won this game if you're Dallas.
How about this question? Would you have gone for it on fourth down if you're the Cowboys down there? It's 4th and goal at the 5.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people, including Jon Machota, say, I think I would have gone for it on 4th down. And to me,
tough.
I think you have to kick it. But
I
mean, Green Bay needed more time.
I think that's what they were trying to do at the end there with the clock mishap was go for the W, and they just happen to have 1 second left. So like, all right, we'll take the tie then.
The Packers.
I think they thought that was their last play.
The Packers defense have been so dominant through the first 3 weeks of the season, and it was very weird to see them. They were operating like we don't want to give the Cowboys the ball back with any time to score.
Yeah. Did you see the look on Dak's face looking up there? There was like 30 seconds left. He was like, that's plenty of time.
Yeah.
If we get it back right now, I can go win this.
And maybe the Packers didn't want to kick it off to Turpin. Hey, I don't know what. I mean, there's a lot going on, but the Packers fiddle-farted around there, and they kind of, I thought, I mean, they screwed themselves out of there, at least getting a better shot at the end zone by just kind of wandering around. And, I mean, even leading up to the 2-minute warning. So, like, they could have had a little more time if they were a little bit more just there. But, again, they were operating out of, we can't let the Cowboys score again. And that's a way we've seen the Cowboys have to play. I mean, this game is crazy. This game is so crazy, Kent. I mean,
wild.
If you go back to the first quarter, like, the Cowboys get the ball in 3 straight run plays, and we're just operating out of this, like, we're not going to let Micah make a play type mode of offense. And to see them end up with 40 points is like, wow, whatever they were thinking in the first quarter. I mean, they had a run play on 3rd and 12 sometime in the first half, too. Yeah. You're going, okay, well, that's not going to happen if you think if you're going to end up with 40 points. So, like, the game plan out the window changed at some point once they realized they could move the ball and protect.
A light bulb went off for sure. They looked defeated. They had poor execution, poor coverage. poor everything early in the first quarter. I wonder if that Maris Leofau hit really just ignited something in them, because like right after that, they just looked like a completely different football team.
Yeah, that was a big play, and then I think like Maris Leofau's big hit might end up getting overshadowed by the late hit.
Oh,
on
for sure.
Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah.
Emmanuel in space. So this is such a wild game.
While we're still at on the last kind of sequence there, Did you think that was a PI on Wicks?
I did, but I've said it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I know I've said it. Before.
Okay, remove Packer owner KT from the equation. Was it a PI?
No, I absolutely think it was, but I'm a big fan of letting them play in the fourth quarter. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you can absolutely maul them, and I don't think it was like. I do think it was pass interference by letter of the law, and I do think it is the type of penalty that would have been called earlier in the game. But in that moment there, I'm a big fan of them not calling it. I mean, I think the refs need to be taught to eat the flag a little bit more late in games. By the way, awful officiating crew here. Both sides of the ball. They're known as a flag-heavy, offensive holding, heavy, flag-throwing crew. And it's a bad officiating crew when the ref can't even get his microphone working and, he's having trouble. He turned to the wrong side a couple times. That's beside the point. Sorry. I want to go into the sequence that involves the big storyline that maybe the national media and to an extent the local media may have eaten up a little too much and gotten away from the game. But, dude, it's 1st and goal at the 5. And the Cowboys try a run play. Then 2nd goal at the 5 in the overtime. And then Micah chases Dak down from behind. I mean, just a huge play.
Yeah.
And then 3rd and goal at the 4. And Dak's got to throw it away. And they end up doing the Aubrey field goal, which, that decision at least secures a tie. The Packers nearly ran the clock out on themselves, though, and that decision might have ended up winning them the game for Dallas. And then that 4th and 6, I think when the Packers had the ball, Love hits Golden. There's a lot you could say, but there are things that happen with the defense, and this is something that we could not say last week after the Bears game. There are things that happen with the defense tonight that at least give you hope that there is some type of vision, there is some type of place this is going. And it's not good enough yet, but to be able to say that there's a little bit of optimism is good. And I realize that's crazy to say when the opposing quarterback went 31 of 43 with 3 touchdown passes. But there was pressure on Jordan Love. He was running for his life a little bit every once in a while. They were not just going rushing 4, dropping 7. They did try some, but they did have some new looks. So I do think that is enough to keep you going and get you looking forward to the Jets and the Panthers in the next couple of weeks,
They looked way more like the week 1 Cowboys tonight than the weeks 2 and 3 Cowboys. The week 1 Cowboys, we looked at them like, wow, this team might have something in the NFC this year if they can compete with the former division champions at this level. This could be an interesting season. And the last 2 weeks looked like they had no place in the playoff conversation. And now it's like you do this against the Packers, who looked unstoppable coming into this game, to be quite honest with you. It's going to turn some heads.
Another big play in this game that I don't want to forget about is the blocked extra point. And, Green Bay lost to Cleveland last week. And I know, anytime a good team loses to the Browns, you make a big deal about it. Green Bay had a, blocked field goal there. And that game as well. So blocked extra point, and then to return it, that's a 3-point swing. Yeah. And man, in a game like this,
ended up being big. Yeah,
I mean that is a huge play because that's the difference in this game being 34-30, and it being 35-28. And the Cowboys, we've talked a lot about overtime here, but when you look at this game and where this was in the fourth quarter. Dallas led 23-20 going into the fourth quarter. And then the Packers scored on the Josh Jacobs run. And then the Cowboys answered back with the direct snap, Javonte Williams, and a couple big plays. There was a huge play. It was 3rd and 2 where Micah nearly got to Dak. And Tyler Smith threw his body at Micah after Micah had beat Guyton and honestly saved the day. And then the Cowboys go for it on 4th and 2. And this is like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And, Cowboys end up scoring on that drive to go up 30-27, and then Packers end up going down and scoring to make it 34-30 with a minute 45 left, and then Turpin's got a big return, and then the George Pickens score, and then we're all thinking it. They scored with too much time left, 43 seconds left, and then, the defense held Green Bay to a point. Now, Green Bay got really conservative there too, though. At least I thought. But then McManus good from 53, and we go to overtime. I mean, that's another sequence where you go, man, kickers are pretty good these days from 53, but given where this Cowboys defense has been and given what we thought going into this game, if you're telling me that the Packers are kicking a 53-yard field goal to tie the game,
To stay in it, yeah.
you're taking that all day. Like before the game, I was like, would you take
Sure.
this? You're going, yeah, 100
I think you'd probably take a tie if you had said that. If you'd said it ends in a tie, he'd be like, all right, sign me up. I don't care. I don't care what the game looks like. The only thing this game was missing, an awesome game, by the way. Just such a fun Sunday Night Football. Yeah, let's go to overtime. Why not? Type of a game. The only thing it was missing was like a 3:25 sun in the eyes moment.
Oh, my God. Dude.
That would have just been, it's got everything.
It really did. This is where, the Packers and Cowboys are already like the whole world watching, right? And it's like, hey, we're going to announce the halftime show and all that good stuff. Like it's all done for a reason. And it sucks that it has to end in a tie, though.
It does.
It's like you're like question mark. Like John, I saw John tweeting, and John's by the tunnel right after the game, and he's got Jerry and the Jones family walking in, and he's like, Jerry doesn't seem thrilled about this tie. It's like, yeah, he's like confused like the rest of us. Like they only give him 10 minutes.
I kind of agree with him there. I think there's probably a solution to this where you don't end in a tie. I know it's a player safety issue. The reason they do it, they don't need these players out there all night playing and getting hurt and stuff. But there's got to be a solution where it's you give it to them, first and goal from the 5, possessions. And then if you still don't score after that, you're still kicking field goals. It's kind of on you, there's got to be a way for somebody to win these games or it doesn't greatly put the players at risk.
No doubt.
Especially in these primetime games where everybody's going to be confused.
And that's, to me, this is where, and the NFL doesn't want to do it, but to me, that's where the college method makes so much sense. And I think you could push it back. Like, start them at the 40, the opposing team's 40. Or start at the 50 if you want, right?
Yeah.
But, like, college, by the time you get to the second overtime, you got to go for 2. And I know some people think that's cheap, but they're doing that so these college games don't go on forever, And I do think the college method really does beat this. 10 minutes is imperfect. 12 minutes, I think, makes a lot more sense because you still have a little bit of time left here, and both teams have a chance to have a 5 or 6 minute drive. I don't love it. John also tweeted from down. He said, Cowboys players walking to the locker room with similar emotions as after a loss. I was like, I don't know if fans are feeling that way. But, dude, can we talk about Dak Prescott for a minute?
It looks good, guys. Looks really good.
Very good game from him. And I didn't know how this was going to go for Dak tonight based on how they called plays in the first quarter. And once they decided to say, oh, yeah, I guess we can throw a little bit. Yeah. Got there and did a great job. And George Pickens definitely looked really good as well. And that'll have you thinking about, I'm sure that'll create some sports talk radio segments of, or some thought pieces on the local outlets about, extending him and all that stuff,
Sure.
But,
glad that connection's there. I was getting to the point, though, in this game, somebody needs to step up. Some other wide receiver at some point needs to step up. I was getting frustrated with Jalen Tolbert until he made one of the most amazing catches I've ever seen. So all's good now, Tolbert.
Tolbert, and then you also, I think, Turpin finally having some type of like all-around input. Like the Turpin 3 catches for 30 yards, I think we've seen that line before, and I think we'll continue to see something like that. But if he's making a difference returning kicks, there's a little boost that the team could use as well.
Turpin's kind of my offensive MVP, if not for Dak, right now.
Yeah.
He's just done so much in different ways to keep drives alive, to make big impact plays. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where they'd be right now.
I also think Javonte Williams has
He looks
surpassed
good.
everyone's expectations. I mean, he had 20 carries for 85 yards and just 4.3 yards a carry, but runs hard. Had a couple catches out of the backfield, things like that. We did have a little ankle injury from Miles Sanders. We'll see if that is, it's like, hey, hope Miles Sanders is, hope you get that taken care of. But we'll see if that expedites the Jaden Blue situation, because I do think the juice from Jaden Blue could be used, and if it's just the trust, But if we're not talking about him, but if we're talking about him playing the same amount of snaps that Miles Sanders is going to play, then okay, then that's fine. I'm not real concerned about it. So there's something there. I think also, Malik Hooker got hurt, so another man down, in the secondary. But getting Deron Bland back, hopefully, Malik Hooker's, it's a toe. It looks like they were working on his toe. Don't know how serious that'll be. But I thought Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass held their own in there. I mean, look, the Packers and the Cowboys had the same amount of sacks tonight. And I don't think that's a bet I would have, placed. I think I would have said, I think the Packers will probably have way more sacks than the Cowboys. And Micah got that one, and it's debatable to me if that's a sack. It looked like you could just call that a tackle, but they're going to give Micah credit for a sack. And then, James Houston, I thought, had a really good game. I thought Osa had a really good game. I thought Kenny Clark played well. I thought Ozarike played well. Like, as a whole, they're not difference makers yet. And I think that's something you can maybe develop Ozarike into. And then Clowney was there. He didn't do much, but, good to see him out there. It's going to make you feel like you got a little something. I'm just glad we're not like, or at least I hope we're not like, in that just kind of, when the Bears embarrass you like last week, there's just so much like, oh, what a lost cause. And I don't like that. I don't like that, especially in September. And not like this, at least it makes you go, all right, now you just go take care of the Jets and go take care of the Panthers. And Lord knows it's not that easy, but I'm not saying it can't. We're back, baby. We are back.
It makes things very interesting, doesn't it, KT?
It helps. It helps so much. If you want to feel good things, to see something, to not feel like it's some sunken lost cause, because if they can be competitive and make a little noise, and then you get these draft picks coming, and you can start to see some semblance of a vision, and that will go to the coaching staff as well. That's what you have to be looking, because Jerry's not going to call it rebuilding, and it's not a full rebuild. You can't with Dak and CeeDee Lamb. That's like not a realistic thing to do. But trading Micah is admitting that you're rebuilding the defense, and instead of off with Eberflus's head, maybe it should be, let's give them a little time to work through this. And again, they gave him 40 points, so it also sounds crazy, right? But this is a game that the Cowboys led at halftime, 16-13. So this game got crazy in the fourth quarter and turned into a track meet. A lot of games do that, but through three quarters, this was a fairly low-scoring game for these two teams.
I think Dak has shown we should give him the benefit of the doubt. When he's on the field, they've got a chance.
Yeah.
And he keeps them in it. CD can go out. They can lose Micah Parsons to a trade. They've got Dak, and I think Jerry is right in that as long as Dak is playing at the level that he is capable of, they've really got a chance. And I don't know what it was tonight. I mean, they came out to play tonight. I don't know if it was the Micah thing. I don't know if it's the Packers 6-0 thing. I think it's probably a combination of all that stuff. But the Cowboys came to play tonight. That's for sure.
Saad Yusuf with the tweet. with the Cowboys improved to 0-5-1 all time against the Packers at AT&T Stadium. So step in the right direction.
I guess, yeah.
And did a Packers-Cowboys game ending in a tie? Are you ready for overtime discourse in the NFL? My goodness.
Yeah.
That's going to be happening.
That'll be leading off the shows in the morning, that's for sure. Kyer Elam.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the guy, guys.
No. You know what? And I don't know what some of this coverage, tape is going to show. Reddy Stewart, at least come in there and make a play or two a game,
Yeah.
Now the coverage could be bad, so I'm gonna, withhold judgment. I thought it was interesting that Trayvon Diggs didn't start tonight.
That was their big wrinkle, KT. Didn't you hear?
Yeah, and you know what? I thought Trayvon made a couple nice plays down the stretch.
That's the goal. Just make him super angry on the bench all game and throw him in there in the fourth quarter, and he'll make some big plays.
He made a couple plays. We got a lot of Wanye Thomas out there at safety. We've been kind of calling for that a little bit. Just the insistence on Eberflus to just stick with what they were doing in Chicago drove me nuts. Like, I'm talking about not his time in Chicago, but the game in Chicago last week. So, like, the fact that they were throwing a few things out there, and I think you'd still like to see them throw some more things at the kitchen sink, whatever that term means. That's a weird phrase that's always been around. I never liked it. Like that, it needs to continue. Try some things. Know what the score is and game manage, and then are we going to run some crazy blitzes? Are we going to? Because just the sitting back, it was too easy. And people are getting behind you anyways when you're doing that a few times. And that was bad. So I got to say, man, like, I am genuinely in disbelief at how this turned out. Now, I might have overhyped the Packers a little bit based on what they did to Detroit and Washington in week 1 and 2. So I'm completely ready to be guilty of that. But, like, there's a few things that just stand out about this game to me, and one of them is that, hey, Dak's awesome, but to go win a game, see how I just said that? To tie a game that CeeDee Lamb and 2 starting offensive linemen aren't playing in is crazy. We haven't said anything like that in years about this team.
Yeah. They shut Micah down.
They did.
That's what, I mean, if you had asked me to bet on just his line coming into this game, I would have been like at least 2 sacks, probably 7 tackles. I think he's going to be flying around, and he was trying.
Well, to me, it's about everyone. Kent, Rashawn Gary had 4.5 sacks coming into this game, and he didn't really make a ton of noise. He made a couple of run plays, but not a ton of noise getting close to the quarterback. Like the quarterback hit numbers, 5 hits on him. The Cowboys got 4 hits on Jordan Love. So then not like either team's pass rush was great. But I thought the Packers defense was going to have a much bigger impact on this game.
Yeah.
And I think the Cowboys thought that too, based on how they called it in the first quarter. This is a game that should have been 14-0 that ended up being 13-2 after the blocked extra point. And just the way the Cowboys were treating it was just very conservative, and let's not let Micah beat us. And I don't know, maybe that slow played threw the Packers off and got the Packers complacent, because before you knew it, the Cowboys were leading at halftime. That big guy hit on Jordan Love, and getting that strip sack and getting the ball back was a huge play, obviously from James Houston. But I just this is a wild one. I look forward to what John has to say about it and Saad when we reconvene with him later in the week, because that one was nuts.
That's about as good of a game as I could have asked for. But, yeah, it is disappointing that it ends in a tie after all that.
Yeah, the NFL, it's been this way for a long time, and every year we have 1 or 2 ties in the NFL.
What does this do like in the NFC? I mean, this could end up being a big tie. Cowboys and Packers. I mean, this could have implications.
A huge tiebreaker game, down the stretch. I do think this tie says more about the Packers than it does the Cowboys right now. Is that weird?
Either that or Caleb Williams is the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, that could be possible.
I don't feel like he is, but
The Bears are just that good, maybe.
Recalibrate the Eagles 4-0 after holding off the Bucks today. And
yeah. I think it just goes to show it's still too early in the season
early
to know who these teams are. And by week 8, we'll know, but we're halfway there.
A tie is about as good as you want to have a definite winner. But man, if you think about how all the discourse around this trade too, when the true answer is about this trade, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen if Micah will stay healthy. We don't know who the Cowboys are going to draft and what they're going to do with the picks. So hot takes on trades are fun and it's part of the world we live in. But it's yeah. Now,
I am worried about the Malik Hooker injury though. And that could be.
I think, and he's not, world's best safety, but he's
somebody.
They don't need a bunch of bodies going down back there, for sure. They really don't. That's devastating. Something else like Kenny Clark, I thought made a few good plays. The Packers lost a defensive tackle, Devontae Wyatt, and once he went out of the game, the Shoddy really dialed up the run a little bit more, and that ended up allowing the Packers to, staying ahead of the chains and things like that, where the Packers couldn't just sit back and pass rush and, get to the quarterback. That the ability to run, even though, again, the numbers are not incredible for Javonte Williams, but 4 yards a pop, and then did a few other things, giving Turpin a carry here and Lipke a carry here and things like that. Their ability to do that was, I think, very important to kind of keeping the pass rush dialed down for Green Bay. And then when Devontae Wyatt went out, the Packers were counting on Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark being their run stoppers this year. And then they gave Kenny Clark to the Cowboys. So Devontae Wyatt goes out. There ain't anyone there, and the Cowboys took advantage of that and knew it and kind of ran all over him for a little bit in the fourth quarter as well. I thought outside of whatever the F they were game planning in the first quarter, I thought Shoddy had a pretty good night calling plays and things like that too.
Yeah, when they got into the flow of the game, and it really felt like the offense was moving, throwing the ball, running the ball, all three phases, as Jason Garrett would say. They were playing well tonight. So, I come out of this optimistic. I think you're coming out of this a little pessimistic about the outcome on both sides, and I'm very jazzed that we could be talking about the draft right now on this postgame show
100%.
if things went the way we expected them to. So we're alive, baby.
We're alive. I'm genuinely in disbelief because I thought the Packers were going to smoke the Cowboys based on the sheer fact that the Giants and the Bears just did whatever they wanted to with the Cowboys. So pretty big disbelief, and then for it to end up to a tie just compounds the confusion, of what to think. But as I was saying, I said this last week, hey, there's a path to this team being 3-3 through 6 games. And I know that's not planning a parade route, but there is. And you get that tie. Now there's a path to being 3-2-1 now through week 6. So
a couple of Kent random thoughts for the end here. Great uniform game. Packers Cowboys, just beautiful to look at on the TV. Some classic NFL uniforms. 42 for Clowney. That's weird.
Yeah.
That struck me as odd.
That, and then, with Ezerike at 41, now we got pass rushers in the 40s.
Yeah.
Don't love that, but I don't want to.
I need Clowney in the 90s if I feel like he's going to make an impact.
Yeah.
And just, weird ref game overall. I know that it really didn't determine the outcome, but just weird ref moments. The calling the penalty on the movement of the ball on the 1 yard line was weird. Didn't look like a face mask against Dak, but I guess it kind of was an inadvertent hand that touched the face. There's just a lot of non-calls and calls that shouldn't have been made. It's just a weird game for the officiating.
Very weird game. And I knew that coming in that's a weird crew. The Ron Tolbert crew. And a lot of flags. Also, I think like you're right on the uniforms. That takes you back to your childhood a little bit too.
It's greatness.
You know? I don't want to come off as too, positive. The defense gave up 40 points, but I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing a sense of direction now, and the fact that they at least tried to blitz this week and a couple times. They gave some different looks on defense, and they were not doing that against the Bears. And to me, that's optimistic. And I know that's asking. That's not asking a lot for a lot of fans. So I'm not giving it a full cop out here, but the defense did give up 40 points and it's still going to be a problem moving forward. But at least we saw some semblance of direction. And I'll take that.
Well said.
I'll take that.
Let's hear what John has to say.
Yeah, let's hear what John has said. And later in the week, we'll do a big episode and we'll get you ready for the Week 5 game. And I'd also like to get John and Sod and your thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime act as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that later in the week. But let's go out to AT&T Stadium right now with your best friend and ours, Father Jon Machota.
I know Cowboys fans aren't going to want to hear this, but I think they should be happy that they tied. With the way that defense is playing, I thought for sure Green Bay was coming down the field and they were just going to score a touchdown with ease and just walk off with that win. And so the fact that they were able to come up with a stop and end in a tie, I don't think that that's all bad. The way that the team looked, leaving the field, walking to the locker room, the way Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the family looked, they clearly seemed like they had just lost the game. I guess the difference is that as a team, they felt like they should have won the game, whereas I went into this game thinking they were going to get their doors blown off. So when they score a couple of touchdowns right before halftime and they're still sticking in there and Dak is playing as good as he's ever played, I was stunned that they were still in it because I just did not feel like the defense would ever get them the stop that they needed. So there's a lot to unpack with this game. Super entertaining. Hats off to the NFL. They deliver more often than not. And tonight was just a great example of that. So many ups and downs, so many huge plays. So I'm going to be all over the place, and I apologize. But one, thought Micah Parsons would have a way bigger impact than he did. He obviously had the big play late that I guess is going to go in the stat sheet as a sack. No gain on the play. I don't think Dak would have scored on that play. Dak said he didn't think he would have scored. Jerry said the same. Not that I don't know why I even brought up Jerry. I don't think you guys care either way on something like that. But just wanted to add it in there. He was asked about it after the game. But throughout the game, I just give the Cowboys a lot of credit for the game planning and the things they did on offense to prevent Micah from wrecking that game, because that's usually what he does. And just seeing how locked in he was before the game, from when the team buses arrived for Green Bay to how he was in the pregame warm-ups, he just seemed completely locked in. That's why I thought it was really smart the way that the Cowboys ran the ball early, particularly in that first series. I know that they didn't do much in the first series, but the fact that you didn't allow Micah to go in there and just pin his ears back and just wreck things off in the first series, that would have been the worst way to start this game. And so when you factor in that the Cowboys didn't have CeeDee Lamb, they didn't have Tyler Booker, they didn't have Cooper Beebe, and Micah Parsons didn't completely wreck the game, I'm a little surprised that happened. So I really am. That just this was lining up for a big Micah Parsons game, and that really never happened. And so player of the game to me is clearly Dak Prescott. He'll never throw the defense under the bus. That's just not the type of guy he is, not the type of leader he is. And I get that. You're the face of the franchise. You shouldn't publicly throw the part of the team under the bus, any of it. It should never happen. But that defense did him no favors. Dak Prescott clearly played good enough for the Cowboys to win this game. Incredible, especially without having CeeDee Lamb. The play up that right sideline to Jalen Tolbert, for Tolbert to haul that in, get both feet in bounds, but even for Dak to get that throw off, incredible play. Some of those plays that George Pickens stepping in for CD as the number one, just outstanding. Kevontae Turpin, the run game with Javonte Williams, Shoddy's play calling, I thought all of it was outstanding for the Cowboys offense. But the defense, I mean, it just looked like it was a kind of a continuation from New York and Chicago. And I don't know how it gets much better. DeMarvion Overshown coming back eventually, I think that helps it. If you can keep Diggs and Bland healthy, I think that would help it. But there's not a lot of positives to take away from the defense. I would say that there were moments where I thought Maris Leofau played better. There were moments where Maris Leofau did things where I was like, oh, I can see that's why he's not playing as many snaps as I thought he would going into the season. Donovan Ezeraku, I thought that was his best game so far of his rookie season. Not perfect, but I thought he stood out. James Houston, same deal. I thought he stood out. I thought that was probably his best game. I know a lot of people on Twitter throughout the game were tweeting at me about why isn't he playing more. I understand. He makes plays. Didn't really notice Jadeveon Clowney a ton. I guess I got to go back and watch the tape. But yeah, overall, though, the defense, I really thought that Green Bay was just going to go down there in the overtime and just score a touchdown. So much of that belief that I really didn't think the Cowboys should have kicked the field goal. I thought that they, even on 4th and goal from the 3, I thought they should have just went for it because I did not have any faith that the defense would come up with a stop. And I guess technically they proved me wrong. So I understand a lot of you guys, girls, probably not happy to end with a tie. But all things considered, I thought this game would be 31-17 Packers. The way it started out made me think it might even be worse than that. So to leave with a tie, not the worst thing. A lot of stuff that still needs to get better. But for not having CeeDee Lamb out there, not having Tyler Booker, Cooper Beebe, against that Packers team who I know they don't look great right now these last 2 weeks, but I think at the end of the year, that's probably a team that has a very good chance of playing in the NFC Championship game. They got some things they got to work on, don't get me wrong, but that's still one of the best teams in the NFC. And so because of that, I don't think it's all negative. I think there is a lot of stuff that they can take from this, and the biggest being that your quarterback's playing as well as he ever has, and that should give you a chance to win a lot of ball games. And he showed tonight why he is the highest paid quarterback in the league. He played on that type of a level. I thought for sure Jordan Love would have the better game of the two quarterbacks just because of the defense he was facing. And now that the game's over, I feel very comfortable saying Dak Prescott was the best player on the field. And I didn't necessarily feel that going in. So we'll see where they go from here. Certainly would have been much better to start out 2-2. But it's not all bad. There's some stuff to build on here.
I don't have time to have a bad time. It ain't on my schedule.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to JohnnyWalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.